In the face of increased political scrutiny and a United Auto Workers UAW strike, Ford announced that it would halt construction on its $3.5 billion electric vehicle EV battery facility in Michigan. According to reports, Ford spokesperson T.R. Reid stated that the carmaker had halted construction on the factory it had announced in February and would restrict expenditure there until it was certain it could run the unit profitably. Let's find out more details about it. Jim Farley, the chief executive of Ford Motor FN, accused the United Auto Workers Union of impeding the signing of a new labor agreement in the United States in an attempt to compel the automaker to pay employees at its new battery factories the same premium rates as those at its assembly plants. Farley also revealed that the automaker is waiting for final language from the U.S. Treasury about the tax credit eligibility of batteries produced at a proposed Michigan plant that will use Chinese technology. Farley remarked, "The UAW is holding the deal hostage over battery plants," and asserted that a bad deal may jeopardize the financial stability of some American auto manufacturing. Farley was not being truthful about the negotiations, according to UAW President Shawn Fain, and the two sides disagreed greatly on fundamental economic concepts, such as job security in this EV transition, which Farley himself says is going to cut 40% of our members' jobs. Citing doubts about the facility's capacity to remain competitive, Ford announced that construction on the $3.5 billion Marshall, Michigan battery plant, which will employ technology licensed from the Chinese battery manufacturer CATL 300,750 SE, has been put on hold. The Inflation Reduction Act (IRA), passed by Congress in 2022, prohibits future consumer EV tax credits of $7,500 if any battery components are produced or assembled by a foreign entity of concern. Ford is waiting on instructions to find out if batteries made at the Marshall facility would satisfy the specifications. "We can make Marshall a lot bigger or a lot smaller," Farley stated. Ford warned Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen and Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm in a letter dated September 8 that the automaker would produce fewer batteries in Michigan, shrinking that project and affecting the volume at EV assembly plants outside of Michigan. This will mean fewer U.S. jobs if the foreign entity provision was interpreted negatively. Ford was ordered to produce records related to the CATL partnership by the chairs of 3 U.S. House committees. Republican lawmakers have been looking into Ford's plan to build a battery facility for months because they are worried that it will make Ford reliant on Chinese technology and send tax breaks from the United States to China. UAW President Shawn Fain described the action as a shameful, barely veiled threat by Ford to cut jobs in a statement that was uploaded to X, previously Twitter. In the statement, he stated, "The Big Three want to threaten us with closing plants that aren't even open yet. Closing 65 plants over the last 20 years wasn't enough for them. All we're asking for is a fair shift to electric cars, but Ford is only intensifying its downward spiral." The union is worried that the automaker's ambitions to eventually switch to all-electric lineups could eventually result in additional job losses and lower compensation because assembling electric vehicles requires a lot less labor than producing gasoline-powered vehicles. In fact, job security is becoming a key concern in talks. Reuters notes that some legislators have also criticized Ford for using Chinese technology in the factory, despite the fact that Ford was supposed to own and run the facility alone. According to the plans, the facility would function as a fully owned subsidiary of Ford Motor Corporation, but it would use services and knowledge from contemporary Amperex Technology Company, or CATL, a Chinese corporation, to make batteries. Tesla also receives battery supplies from CATL, the biggest battery manufacturer in the world. The $430 billion Inflation Reduction Act (IRA) legislation was passed by Congress last year in order to reorganize the distribution of EV tax credits. As per the legislation, buyers of electric vehicles can receive tax credits in different quantities, which are contingent on the fact that the car, along with its batteries and battery components, were produced and the battery materials were extracted in the United States. The battery factory was supposed to run alongside the Kentucky and Tennessee factories that Ford has announced for 2021. Ford and the South Korean company SK Innovations are constructing the plants. Ford has stated that by late 2026, it hopes to be ready to build 2 million electrified cars worldwide. Ford, however, indicated that worries about employment losses are unfounded. During this contract period, or even beyond this contract, None of our workers today will lose their jobs due to our battery plants, stated Farley. To meet the demand for our amazing new cars, we will actually need to hire more people in the near future as some of our current staff retire. Farley made reference to President Joe Biden and his probable opponent, former President Donald Trump, making separate visits in Michigan, saying that the strike and the role of EVs have become a political football. Concerns over Chinese influence have led some Republican leaders to doubt Ford's arrangement with CATL, which Farley called a shame. The UAW, however, singled out the company's decision to halt work on its Michigan battery plant, calling it a shameful, barely veiled threat by Ford to cut jobs. "We are simply asking for a just transition to electric vehicles, and Ford is instead doubling down on the race to the bottom," Union President Shawn Fain said. "Neither during this contract period nor even after this contract, any of our current employees will lose their jobs as a result of our battery plants." Farley maintained that the Marshall, Michigan plant's suspension was not intended as a bargaining chip with the UAW. "We're taking a break to determine the best course of action," he remarked. Determining how big or tiny that site should be involves many factors: the cost of labor, the IRA's ultimate wording, and of course, whether we can work out an arrangement that lets us invest in the goods those batteries are going into. Farley stated that despite appearances, the firm is much closer to reaching an agreement with the UAW, and that any agreement is made must be affordable, not only for Ford but also for customers who may see an increase in the cost of electric vehicles. According to some observers, if Ford were to agree to the parameters put forth by the UAW, which include rises in the cost of living of up to 40%, EV prices might rise by as much as $5,000 per unit. However, more recent counteroffers are smaller, so EV costs should be less affected, according to Ford's Kumar Galhotra. Galhotra stated, "The deal that we are actually very close to is a deal that's affordable for us. We can keep investing where we need to, and the workers get a very fair deal," the statement reads. The future of the automotive industry depends on multi-billion-dollar EV battery plants, along with the thousands of jobs they are expected to create. These plants are also in a unique position to have a significant impact on the UAW, automakers, and President Joe Biden's drive for domestic manufacturing. Whether or not the battery facilities are specifically addressed in the national agreement, current and former union leaders have previously told CNBC that for the union to remain viable over the long run, the plants will need to be a top priority for the labor organization. They are seen as a wild card issue in the contract discussions, nevertheless. Since many of the announced battery factories are joint ventures, they are not legally allowed to be part of the ongoing negotiations. Ford has disclosed plans to build 4 more battery plants, comprising a wholly owned subsidiary, 3 joint ventures, and a licensee battery factory employing technology from Chinese auto supplier CATL. Due to union disputes, Ford halted building on the latter factory earlier this week, according to Farley. Marshall can be made significantly larger or smaller, according to Farley. Being the only Detroit automaker with a unionized joint venture battery plant, GM is the first in the nation to deal with this unique bargaining situation and operates a groundbreaking facility that sets standards for the sector. Farley pointed out that the present schedule of the deals being discussed won't even cover all of the battery output. Additionally, he defended the company's previous proposals, which included employment security, a return of cost of living adjustments, an increase in hourly pay of more than 20%, and other benefits. Farley declared if a record contract is the UAW's goal, they have already achieved this. To further intensify these strikes and cause harm to thousands of families is incredibly reckless. We'll return with additional details and videos. Please remember to like the video if you thought it was informative and helpful. Please leave your comments, subscribe to our channel, and check back for more thought-provoking videos. Until then, bye.